Chapter 12, The Collective Conscious. The deeper I understood my depression's origins, the more Chris's high-level teachings felt like wisdom from another dimension. Despite knowing he held the keys I needed, I'd shout back, "But you don't understand!" Enter any one of the long list of current issues I had in that moment. His truth felt accurate but impossibly distant, like I was trying to grasp at stars with bare hands. How is someone consumed by depression and fear supposed to not only survive life's current mountain of difficulties, but also intentionally seek out more psychological demons through inner work and only then somehow achieve enlightenment? How would that journey help with relationships when it seemed to demand endless solitude? How would it generate income? Spiritual people aren't balling. I was spiraling through a complete life crisis that defied every spiritual explanation I'd encountered to that point. I'd reached a breaking point where staying in my current living situation was no longer an option. A friend's recommendation during my housing search introduced me to Siddhartha, who goes by Sid, whose Buddha name would prove prophetically fitting for the mentorship and kindness that soon followed. His downtown Denver high-rise condo became the setting for my next phase of growth, guided by someone who redefined what human potential looked like. He was a 25-year-old man who dominated every aspect of existence, training for wingsuit flights and jujitsu, securing multi-million-dollar mergers and acquisitions deals of nursing homes, and approaching random hot women on the street, not merely for pickup practice, though he ranked among America's elite coaches in that arena, but because he understood if he could consistently overcome fears of getting a hot girl's number with pristine communication skills, that would build unshakable confidence for boardroom negotiations and business deals. Nothing could rattle this man. He was pure, concentrated determination. His daily routine included hours of intense, uninterrupted focus work in his completely darkened room, from which he'd emerge with a handful of filled out books, radiating accomplishment and vitality. Every ambition of his was systematically planned and executed with precision that would impress military special forces. When he set out to do something, he simply did it, and he didn't miss. He got things done, no matter what, and nothing scared him. Nothing. Throw in that he balanced this manic work ethic with genuine love for wilderness while keeping a playful wit that felt straight out of a top-tier comedy special, and he was magnetic company. Meeting him was simultaneously inspiring and devastating. He was everything I hadn't managed to become, achieved by someone a full decade younger than I was. He meditated daily and was a regular Vipassana retreats, about as spiritual as the mind could take a person. Yet he had a heart chakra that was clearly blocked by his womanizing and conquer mentality. When I opened up to him about my depression one day, his reaction revealed how foreign that experience was to his reality. Not dismissive, but genuinely puzzled, as if I described living underwater. If you want to conquer this, you need to understand the collective conscious, he said. He then handed me the book Reality Transurfing, written by a mysterious Russian author named Vadim Zeland, who seemed to understand something fundamental about how collective consciousness operates, and more importantly, how it can be weaponized against us. The book introduced me to the concept of pendulums, which Zeland described as energy structures created when groups of people focus intensely on the same ideas, beliefs, or causes. They're living thought forms that feed off human attention and emotional energy like parasites. When enough people become emotionally invested in political movements, religious groups, sports teams, social causes, or even negative thought patterns, they inadvertently create these energetic pendulums that then work to capture more adherents to sustain themselves. What made this concept so unsettling was recognizing how these pendulums operate exactly like the dark entities I've been learning about, just on a collective scale. They manipulate people through emotions like fear, anger, pride, fanaticism to keep them engaged and reactive. They don't care about individual well-being. They only want to maintain their energy source. A pendulum will even create conflict with opposing pendulums to generate more emotional charge, which explains why political discourse has become so toxic and why social media feels like a battlefield designed to keep us perpetually outraged. Zeland's solution wasn't to fight these pendulums. Fighting is useless. Fighting only feeds them more energy, but to recognize when you're being pulled into their influence and consciously step away. You become what he called a free agent, someone who chooses where to direct attention rather than being unconsciously controlled by these manipulative group dynamics. It was about reclaiming sovereign control over your own consciousness in a world designed to harvest it. While this may be true, and I'm not completely in disagreement, spirituality, on the other hand, approaches collective consciousness as a fundamental aspect of reality, where individual minds are interconnected through deep layers of awareness that transcend physical boundaries. Most spiritual traditions point to the existence of a shared field of consciousness underlying all individual experience. In modern metaphysical thought, this is often described through a place called the Akashic Records, a term popularized in Western esotericism and inspired by the Sanskrit word akasha, which means ether or space. In these teachings, the records are imagined as a vast, subtle, cosmic archive containing every thought, action, and event across time. Healers like Eva are often said to draw from this field, accessing impressions about a person's past lives, karmic patterns, or even past thoughts. We look closer at the records later in this book. While this record keeping idea is more esoteric than traditional, the underlying sense of interconnected awareness has deep roots in Eastern philosophy. In Buddhism, the principle of independence teaches that all phenomena, including consciousness, arise only in dependence on one another, forming an intricate web of connection rather than existing as separate selves. In Hindu philosophy, Brahman is the ultimate infinite consciousness from which all individual awareness, Atman, arises. While the perception of separateness is considered Maya, an illusionary veil of reality that dissolves upon true spiritual realization. Shamanic practices often involve accessing collective knowledge through altered states of consciousness, connecting with ancestral wisdom or universal guidance that exists beyond individual experience. Most modern spiritual movements tend to frame it as a morphic field or unified field where thoughts, emotions, and intentions ripple out and influence the whole. This is where concepts like raising the vibration or shifting the collective come from. The idea that individual spiritual work contributes to the evolution of human consciousness as a whole. It suggests that when enough people reach higher states of consciousness, it creates a tipping point that lifts all of humanity, centering the collective more on love-based actions instead of fear-based ones. That's why all of my teachers, all of them, and countless saints and mystics of past have said that the greatest gift you can give mankind is your liberation. On the other side of the coin, suffering and fear also don't just stay contained within the individual. It ripples out and contributes to the overall energetic field that humanity shares. From a spiritual perspective, collective trauma creates dense, heavy energies that anyone can feel. You walk into a mental hospital or homeless shelter and instantly sense the weight of suffering, or visit a place like Auschwitz and feel a chilling heaviness that words alone can't describe. This operates on a much larger scale, too. Generational trauma, cultural wounds, and mass suffering events all leave energetic imprints in the collective field. And science is now beginning to confirm what mystics and healers have long intuited. Trauma doesn't just end with the individual, it can echo throughout generations. A notable study led by Dr. Rachel Uheda at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York found that children of Holocaust survivors exhibited genetic changes, specifically in the FKBP5 gene, which regulates stress response, that were not present in children from non-survivors. These epigenetic alterations were linked to heightened vulnerability to stress and PTSD, suggesting that the trauma of the Holocaust left lasting biological imprints that affected subsequent generations. This phenomena is part of a broader field known as transgenerational trauma, where the effects of a traumatic event are not only felt by those who directly experience it, but also by their descendants. Studies have shown that the children of, and even grandchildren of Holocaust survivors often display increased anxiety, depression, and PTSD symptoms, even without direct exposure to the original trauma. This transmission can occur through both psychological mechanisms, such as parenting lifestyles and family dynamics, and biological mechanisms like epigenetic changes. Many spiritual teachers also explain that unhealed individual pain contributes to what's sometimes called the pain body of humanity, a collective accumulation of fear, anger, resentment, and trauma that gets passed down and perpetuated. You can feel it in places like prisons, ICUs, or war-torn regions, or notice how certain destructive family behaviors echo across generations without anyone fully understanding why. But that's what's fascinating, is that spiritual traditions also teach that consciously working through and healing your own suffering doesn't just benefit you. It literally transmutes that energy in the collective field. When someone genuinely heals trauma or transcends a pattern of life suffering, they're not just freeing themselves, but helping to dissolve that pattern for others too. According to multiple mentors of mine, when you're the first person in your lineage to seriously pursue inner work, you are apparently moonlighting as the divine janitor for your entire family tree, going back 7 generations. So congratulations. You've just become the spiritual equivalent of that one relative who finally cleans out the family storage unit that's been accumulating junk since the 1800s. Your great grandparents are probably throwing a party in whatever dimension they're hanging out in right now, finally getting their karmic credit scores improved thanks to your meditation sessions and energy work. Huzzah! We must remember that our awakening, our suffering, is not our own, one master told me. We are taking it on for all of humanity. That perspective shifted everything for me. Suddenly, I felt more resilient, more empowered, like there was a real purpose behind what I was enduring. I wasn't just suffering from my own growth. I was somehow serving something bigger. Even though I had no idea of that true context, of the true extent of what was happening or the real impact it might have, the thought gave me strength. It's like creating an app that helps millions of people, but never getting to see the download statistics or user feedback. You put it out into the world, trusting that it's making a difference somewhere for someone, or even though you'll never exactly know how many lives you've touched or in what ways. That reframe made the unbearable feel bearable. When the spiritual process felt like it was destroying me, I could hold on to the idea that my breaking apart might somehow help strangers and family members from long ago break free. But clearing 7 generations of family karma is just a warm-up act for what consciousness had planned for my personal demolition.